House will come back to order. Representative Davis of the 117th.
Madam Speaker, I move we pass this bill temporarily.
Without objection, so ordered. Will the clerk please call calendar 196?
On page 41, calendar 196, favor report of the Joint Standing Committee on Planning and Development, substitute House Bill 6355, an act concerning homeowner protection rights.
Representative Tong.
Good evening, Madam Speaker.
Good evening.
I move acceptance of the Joint Committee's favorable report and passage of the bill.
The question is on acceptance of the Joint Committee's favorable report and passage of the bill. Representative Tong, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill is a bill to strengthen our state's foreclosure mediation program. After the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, Connecticut was particularly hard hit, and Connecticut homeowners found themselves in a difficult place in the foreclosure crisis. Many of our neighbors across the state found themselves in considerable distress with, for many of them, their most important financial asset, their home. In response, we created the foreclosure mediation program here in Connecticut that's become a national model for helping homeowners stay in their homes. Over the last several years, we've helped 15,000 people through our foreclosure mediation program. More than 80% of people in this program have been able to work something out with their lenders, and more than 68% of those folks have been able to stay in their homes. Although we've seen great success with this program, we've also learned that there have been considerable abuses in the program as well. Foreclosures and our foreclosure mediation program can take quite a long time in the process. We've seen foreclosures in this state take sometimes as high as 300, 400, 500 days. We have homeowners and lenders in the mediation program for multiple sessions, sometimes 5, 10, 15, even 20 sessions. We've also heard horror stories from our constituents about attending mediation programs where lenders are unprepared or requesting additional information over and over again when that information and financial information has already been provided several times. We've also heard stories of situations where lenders have been unresponsive to requests from homeowners for help and alternatives to foreclosure. So what we've done here is we've tried to come together and strengthen our mediation program and to make it a much more efficient and effective program to help people hold on to that all-important asset in their home. Madam Speaker, the clerk has an amendment, LCO number 7552. I ask the clerk please call the amendment, and I be given leave to provide a summary.
Will the clerk please call LCO number 7552, which will be designated House Amendment Schedule A.
House Amendment A, LCO 7552, represented by, or offered by Representative Tong et al.
The representative seeks leave of the chamber to summarize the amendment. Is there any objection to summarization? Is there any objection? Hearing none, Representative Tong, you may proceed with summarization.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a strike-all amendment that becomes the bill. In short, it has several key sections. Chief among them, we create a section that redefines the objectives of the mediation program and basically sets forth a good faith standard that holds banks and lenders and homeowners to a standard of conduct in the mediation program that ensures that everybody is working out alone and pursuing an expeditious resolution of the dispute. It also provides for sanctions if parties engage in conduct that is not consistent with the objectives of the mediation program. This amendment also creates a pre-mediation process that helps homeowners get prepared for the mediation process before it begins. And it also provides for a much more efficient mediation process and involves the court a lot more so that the court can hold the parties accountable and ensure that the mediation process happens quickly and we can come to a resolution between the parties. I want to thank Ranking Member Representative Alberts for his help on this in getting this amendment in this bill in a good place. I appreciate his assistance in us getting there. Also, the community banks in this state, the housing advocates, and I also particularly want to thank the governor for his strong leadership and putting forth his proposal that started the process going and brought us ultimately to this place. I move adoption.
The question before the chamber is the adoption of House Amendment Schedule A. Will you remark on the amendment? Representative Alberts of the 50th.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I too share the chairman's feeling of elation that we're at this point today, because this has been something that we've been working on for a number of months. I also would like to give much credit to the chairman, both chairmen of the committee, the governor's office for providing leadership on this, and advocates for both the banking community and for the housing advocates as well. As the chairman brought out the amendment which is before us, he was very accurate in terms of his assessment of what the market had looked like in the state. And although we're seeing a turnaround in the real estate market and situation is improving, there is still additional work to go, and I believe the amendment that's before us is going to accomplish much. So with that spirit in mind, Madam Speaker, I would like to ask the proponent of the amendment some questions, if I may.
Please frame your question, sir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In terms of the amendment that's before us, as I understand it, the amendment is going to address residential properties and church-owned properties only, not other commercial-type properties. Is that not correct? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Tong.
Yes, through you, Madam Speaker. That's correct.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Alberts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And there was some discussion about some of the various elements of the amendment. I want to touch upon them briefly. One of the things that I think is one of the admirable goals that we've set out in the bill amendment that's before us is to outline the objectives of the mediation program. And if the proponent could touch upon some of those objectives in terms of what the key goals are that we're looking to achieve, I would be very appreciative through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Tong.
Through you, Madam Speaker, the objectives of the mediation program are to consider avoiding foreclosure. That includes consideration of loss mitigation options available either through the lender or borrower or through other programs that can help a homeowner stay in their home. It also, the objectives also include an overall objective to conclude the mediation process and hopefully the foreclosure process with reasonable speed and efficiency without unreasonable and unnecessary delays. But in particular, as I said earlier, we've all heard stories of what can only be characterized as potentially misconduct and negotiating not in good faith in the foreclosure and mediation program. And this will hold the parties to a standard of good faith to ensure that everybody is working towards the same goal, and that is to resolve the outstanding foreclosure dispute, and if we can, to help people hang on to their homes. Through you.
Representative Alberts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the proponent for his answer. I think one of the things we also heard in terms of the testimony from many advocates, housing advocates, was that in some situations, not necessarily involving community banks in Connecticut, but perhaps in some of our larger brethren, that often they did not come to the table, the banks did not come to the table with an ability to negotiate on their institution's behalf. And so toward that goal of becoming more productive, we developed a standard that required the lenders to achieve or have an ability to mediate. And I was hoping that the proponent could address the ability to mediate in terms of what that different standard meant in terms of what the requirement was from the financial institutions. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Tong.